Hariom, Namaste Srinivas ji, Hariom Vaishali ji, Hariom Rajshri ji, Hariom
Hariom,
Arvind ji, Namaste ji. We have some few minutes in hand, so we can just wait for for the participants to join.
Hariom.
Hariom ji. If anybody has any queries, you wish to look at something again, we can look at it, or we can just wait for other participants to join. Hariom Shiv Shankar ji, Hariom Vasudevan ji, Hariom Bhavisha ji. Namaste.
Hariom.
Hariom. So we'll just wait for a few more minutes. If anybody wishes to discuss something, you are welcome. Until somebody joins, we can just wait for another, say, 6 minutes. Or we can just quietly wait for the session to start, as you wish. Oh, Hariom. Ji, namaste. Happy to hear that, sir. Ji.
Krishna without any ornaments and all.
So that was the photograph by an artist. So he actually shared that image with me. So, ji, sir.
Usually we see Krishna with a lot of makeup and ornaments. It's simple.
Ji.
Yogi Krishna.
Ji, that's interesting. I'll convey it to the photographer who has taken that photo. Ji, sir.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna ji. Hari Om Savitri ji. Hari Om Deepti ji.
All of you.
Hari
Hare
Om.
Krishna, all of you.
Hari Om. So we'll just wait for a few more minutes. We have around 3 minutes. Hari Om Vidya ji. If anybody wishes to look at some particular shloka or something that we have already seen, you want to relook at anything, we can look at it, or we'll start in a couple of minutes. Normally, Monday after a break takes a little bit time for some participants to join, and today's participation is generally lesser on Mondays. So we'll just wait for 2 more minutes and then begin. And yes, Vasudevanji is going to be saying the Dhyana Mantra. So probably after the Saraswati invocation, I think Vasudevanji can share maybe a mantra or two. Ji, sir. Hari Om, Dr. Poonam ji, Namaste. Hari Om, Dr. Atul ji. Hari Om ji, Namaste. Hari Om. We'll just begin in 1 more minute. Alright, I think we can now begin with the invocation. Hari Om. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Hari Om.
Om Partaya Pradibodhidam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Graditam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamurdavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini Namostute Vyasa Visala Buddhe Pullara Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Pradvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Thank you, Vasudevanji. So with this, we are beginning. It is nice to have a dhyan on what is this Bhagavad Gita, the 18 chapters, where are these chapters being said, not in a seminar room or some kind of library. It is in the battlefield in the middle of Mahabharata, where by the prasad of Vyasa, Sanjay got to see it. And I think we also got by the prasad of Sanjay from Vyasa that we were able to see the great dialogue. So it has just begun. As usual, before we begin our study, we need to establish a link of what we have covered previously. So, can anybody in short just say where we stopped? What had happened? We had just started the second Adhyaya. We just began entering into the second Adhyaya. So, yes, please, can anybody share something? Anything that you recollect? What is it? Where did we stop?
Basically,
Yes, Deepti ji. Yes, please.
so Arjuna was thinking that whatever he's about to do is not right. He's just going to
Maybe a little louder, Deepti ji. I'm sorry, it is not very clear.
Now can you hear me?
No, now it's better. Yes, please.
Okay. So Arjuna was when he was in the battlefield right in front of his elders and his cousins. So looking at them, he thought that what he's about to do is not a normal thing. He's going to murder. He treated it like a murder. And starting from his blaming himself, he took it to the what the purvas of the so he took the whole plan, like how it is going to ruin the reputation. So that's what he was in that, and Krishna was just listening to him, what he's saying, and he was just venting it out in Krishna's head.
Ji. Yes, Deepti ji. So Arjuna was in a state of what we can say a kind of panic, moving into depression from a panic. And finally he says, that's it, I cannot fight. He says, no, I will not. Kandivam sransate hasatvakchaiva paridhate. So everything he said, I'm feeling like I'm having fever. And finally he sits down. He sits down, it's like the weapon has been surrendered by the warrior already before the battle. So that is where he falls, and before that, he goes on speaking so many things which are basically in a state of emotion. He starts saying, this is Hatya. Then he doesn't say just Hatya, then it is Kulakshaya. Kulakshaya is destruction of family. I'm murdering not one person, I'm murdering an entire family. As if that is not enough, because he wants some kind of reaction from Krishna supporting his thoughts, because basically many times all people need is sometimes they need a yes from somebody else. They've already decided what they want to do. They just need some kind of thumbs up. So this is what Arjuna was seeking from Krishna, but Krishna was not going to do that. And he was not getting annoyed also at what Arjuna was saying, because he goes on saying, he just doesn't stop. He says Kulakshaya. Then he says Mitra Droha. He says this is worst. Guru Hatya. That is also not enough. Then he starts talking about Papa. He talks about the Shashvat Dharma being destroyed. Then he goes on saying about how this will result in destruction. This will result in destruction of society, imbalance of society. Varna Sankara is going to take place. He says this will lead to tragedies. Ultimately, ancestors also, as if Pitars were probably happy in their Chandraloka. They don't have, I don't know what they do there. They're quite what we can say, happy. And suddenly he says, no, they will fall after demise also. All the Shraddha Kriyas that you have done will go waste. All these fears. Then he talks about Naraka, Naraka not for himself, for his future generations also. Everybody will suffer. So this kind of what we can say worst case scenarios, doomsday predictions are all coming out of Arjuna's mind. And he's just telling that to Krishna. Krishna is not responding. And finally he tells Krishna, were we greedy? Was it out of the desire for wealth that this war was initiated? Somewhere saying Krishna is co-conspirator in that plot for this entire battle. But again, Krishna is the best example of how a person should be a listener. A good listener who is not getting, pricked by Arjuna's words, is not reacting quietly, he's just quiet. And finally, when Arjuna stops, Krishna intervenes, and he intervenes in a nice way. He just talks in a neutral way, just like as an adult or some uncle would tell a young boy. Just like that, he is Klaibhyam Masmagamaha Partha. The first words of Krishna, he is just introducing to Arjuna to not behave this way. He says, stand up. Oh Parantapa, Uttishta Parantapa is the word, if I am not mistaken. In the shloka number 3. Yes, we stopped at third shloka. So finally, he says, Uttishta parantapa. He says, Klaibyam masma gamaha partha naitatvaya upapadyate. Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam. Tyaktva. If you want to give up something, give up this cowardice, is what he says. And stand up. Because this is not the way of a warrior, not somebody who has a name in the society, who has earned his name by good deeds. Such a warrior will not talk about the language of a coward. This is not the way, he says. Now, this is a very neutral dialogue. It's not somebody, it's not Arjuna's beloved Krishna, his beloved friend who is speaking. This is a neutral dialogue. So, again, we see this is very interesting. Arjuna is first action of Krishna is not immediate. Bhagavad Gita does not actually immediately start here. It starts with this neutral dialogue of Krishna, and Arjuna is going to immediately retort. We'll have maybe a little bit of anger or a little bit of frustration that's going to be palpable in the next sloka. But before we begin, as we have started a new Adhyaya, we will look at the illustration connected to this Adhyaya. So I'll just share the illustration. Please have a look at it. What do you see in this illustration? Can somebody describe the illustration?
It looks like as it clearly says. Okay. As it clearly says, it looks like standing for the truth.
Okay,
And you have to defend the truth also. It's not that always have to stand by the side which is right.
okay,
So you have
okay.
to follow this.
Deepti ji is saying we have to defend the truth. We must stand by the truth. Yes, anybody wishes to add to what Deepti ji has shared? Something, what
Actually,
does.
truth is shown as a shield.
Yes, yes,
That's
true.
usually they say if you follow dharma, dharma will protect you or
Okay,
something.
ji, ji,
Usually,
ji.
how it
Dharmo
is.
rakshati rakshitah. Yes, that's a wonderful, yes, Sanskrit slogan. Who protects the dharma is protected by the dharma. So this person's weapon is also truth. His shield is also truth. Shiv Shankar ji wants to add something. Yes, please.
No, I was just remembering Lala, how he suffered because of truth,
Because of
being truthful.
who suffered because of that, Shiv Shankar ji?
Nala,
Huh?
Nala,
Nala,
Nala.
Nala. Okay, probably when we go to the 18th Adhyaya, Satyam Bruyat Na Bruyat Satyam Apriyam. So, what truth is to be told, how it is to be told. It'll because sometimes truth, what is the spirit of the truth is important. It is a story that the Britishers were after a particular freedom fighter.
No, I
And
was to tell the name of Harish Chandra, not Nala. Sorry about that mistake.
Harishchandra suffered because of truth. But he
Yes.
became Harishchandra because of truth only. We will not remember Harishchandra if it was not for the truth. So this is what we can say, some kind of pain initially, but that was ultimately something which he would never. Harishchandra is known to hold on, he's like this figure only. The foundation is firm into truth. It cannot remove this. This is like the feet are not free for this soldier in the illustration. So yes, Shiv Shankar ji. So all
Yes.
right. Yes, Savitri ji. Yes, please.
What in this chapter, matlab the second chapter is going to start. In second chapter, whatever the knowledge given by Krishna, that is ultimate truth.
Okay, so that is the ultimate truth. And what must we do with that truth? Should we use it at times, sometimes, or is it something we need to hold it at all times?
We should definitely cultivate in our day-to-day life.
Okay, okay, Savitri ji. So this truth is not something which is going to change. Why they call it truth? Satyameva Jayate. Why? Because ultimately we got this is what the Vedas also talk about Rutam, the highest truth which we must be connected with. And I think Vasudevan ji gave a very nice talk about these Sanskrit slogans. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Anybody knows which organization of India has this as a slogan? Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. They have taken it as a slogan of the organization only. Can anybody guess that? Because
Must be Supreme Court.
okay, Vasudevanji feels it's the Supreme Court
Yeah,
because
it's a
it's
guess.
upheld.
Yes. I'm not
Okay, it's a guess. Yes, yes. It is not Supreme Court, Vasudevanji, but anybody else? A government's premium agency, an organization. You can guess. We are not in general knowledge class, so it's no problem if you are
Is
wrong.
it the research wing?
Yes, research and analysis wing, RAW, raw, as we call it. Yes. So it is interesting. Dharmo rakshati rakshita. Meaning of that, well, you protect the dharma and that dharma will protect you, and that is what they are living it. Our research and analysis wing. We do not know where they are. They might be even present in our sessions. We do not know. Undercover, they are just upholding the truth, and many times their own family members don't know. They don't know they belong to this nation's most premium intelligence agency, and they are serving. What's their job? Well, the kundali of all the enemies of Bharat is in their hands. They are busy readying, finding out who is plotting where, and before the person can execute that plan is to be completed. But in the process, what happens? There are sacrifices. So many sacrifices are made. Many times lives are lost and nobody knows on the outside. Sometimes they get the bad names also because they have to cover up their identity. So this aspect, knowing fully well they enter into the state, fully knowing fully well, that is exactly how a Kshatriya is. When a Kshatriya enters into the war, he knows that he is not going to go just to hug his opponent. The opponent is having a weapon, he is having a weapon. This weapon is going to cut and kill either that person or himself. So this is the way of a Kshatriya. Our soldiers also at the border, young ones, 20, 22, 23, they become martyrs. What have they seen in life? But there is something they have understood that we have to uphold. So that is the dharma of the Kshatriya. And here, highest truth. What is your highest dharma? It is to uphold the truth. Krishna is going to tell. We'll see that in the Gita. Somewhere Arjuna has forgotten his Kshatriya dharma. That is obvious. He has forgotten what he wants to do or what he is supposed to do because his personal emotions have taken full control. So here, the tagline is: one must always remember that the most important duty of every individual is to stand by the side of the truth and uphold what is right. Because if we do not, our foundation will be weak, we will ourselves crumble. We don't have a foundation of truth, we will not have any strength. Sometimes it is the Satya which is the shield also. Satya is also our weapon. If you hold on to it, you get your strength as well. So let us begin. We enter into the fourth shloka of the second Adhyaya. After Krishna has told, Uttishta Parantapa. So it's very nice. Rise. Immediate emotional response from Arjuna. Arjuna Uvacha. Katham Bhishmamaham Sankhye Dronam cha Madhusudana Ishabhi Pratiyotsyami Pujarha Varisudana. Yes, we had not seen the fourth shloka, is it not? We are continuing from fourth. Alright. Arjuna replied, tell me how, as with weapons equipped, stand revered Bhishma and Drona in my sight. Both these great souls I have always worshipped. Even in dreams, them I cannot fight. So Krishna says, how? Tell me how. Because with weapons equipped, Drona is standing, Guru Dronacharya is there. I am holding a weapon because he taught me how to hold a weapon, and now he is standing in front of me. And there is Pitamaha. I'm just supposed to touch his feet and get blessings. That's all my relation is supposed to be with this person. And now he is standing here. And they are all people I have worshipped. I cannot think of, even in my dreams, I will not fight against them. And they are standing in front of me. Tell me how. This is his dilemma. He goes on further. Gurun hatva hi mahanubhavan श्रेयो भोक्तुम भक्ष्यमपीह लोके हत्वार्थ कामांस्त गुरुनिहैव भुंजीय bhogan रुधिर pradigdhan. He says, instead of killing, the experienced teachers mighty. Even a life spent begging for alms is worthy. If for my desire of wealth they are dead, the worst of dreaded sins will loom over my head. So he says, instead of this Guru Hatya, it is better to be a beggar, he says. Because if for my wealth, if they are going to die because I am desiring wealth, I am going to kill them. What will that papa come to me? So again, my question is Arjuna correct here? Is he engaging in Guru Hatya by taking part in the battle? Is it murder of teachers? Is it murder first of all? Yes, and is it filled because of his desire for wealth that he is participating? Yes, these two questions, these 2 points which he is raising to not fight. He says, one is these are my teachers. I will be murdering my teachers. And second, see, I will be murdering because of a desire of wealth. So is Arjuna here because of a desire of wealth? Does anybody agree with his statement? If not,
Not necessarily.
It is not.
What is he said, sir?
Ji, yes, Deepti ji?
He's not here for wealth.
Ha.
That is very clear. But now, because he's in such a dilemma, he's in such an emotional turmoil, that he's relating everything to wealth here.
So, and it is not murder also, is it not? It is not
Not
murder at all. It's a dharma of a Kshatriya. He has to fight. A soldier has to do his job there. He cannot suddenly say
so that's
no.
what Kshatriya is.
Yeah.
It is,
Yes,
it
yes,
is very,
yes. Yes, he cannot say I'll write poetry now and I'll go to the border and recite poetry. No, he'll have to fight there. He'll have to take his weapon. The poetry will have to come out of his gun only. When the terrorist is coming, his job is to neutralize the terrorist. That is all. That is not murder when he's neutralizing a terrorist. So some way like that. But Arjuna is now really in a confusion. He's not sure what he's supposed to do. Let us go on. न चैतद् विद्मः कतरन्नो गरीयो यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः यानेव हत्वा न जिजीविषांस्ते avasthitaha pramukhe dhartarashtraha. Now, earlier, if you see the first shloka, I say, I want to see who has come to support the false mind of Duryodhana. I want to see that alliance of well-wishers. Means I want to see the group of villains who have joined for a wrong cause. That was his state of mind before seeing everybody. And now he says, even Duryodhana appears like my brother Duryodhana. I don't think he would any time call Duryodhana his brother. But he says, these children of Dhritarashtra who are my siblings only, they are my brothers. Right now, why is he not remembering what happened to Draupadi? Why is he not remembering what is in the mind of Duryodhana? What is he planning? What is he plotting? All these things are forgotten. Why? Because he wants to convince Krishna of his own narrative, and his emotions are making him also blind to see only, he's somehow trying to convince and justify his action of withdrawal from this battle. He goes on, killing my foes, my Kauravan brothers, I firmly refuse from these two outcomes. How can one choose? This, how can I choose? This is frying pan and fire. One side, this, my gurus they will die, otherwise my people will die. How can I choose one outcome? Our defeating them or our being defeated. As both ways, my own life shall be desecrated. He says, if anyway, what's going to happen? My life will only be destroyed. I cannot choose this. It's a frying pan fire situation. I cannot choose which outcome can I take. But now at least he's somewhere coming to terms, at least. Now he's realizing he cannot choose rather than saying I am withdrawing. So next shloka, this is a very important shloka. This is the shloka because of which we have Bhagavad Gita. Because of this shloka, Krishna is going to speak to Arjuna. Just imagine if Arjuna had not used this shloka, we would never have got the Bhagavad Gita. Let us see what it is. कार्पण्य दोषोपहतः स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म सम्मूढ़ चेताः यत् श्रेयः स्यान निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेहं शाधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम. So here he turns to Arjuna. He's got an acceptance of the situation. He says, no, I am in bad trouble. I accept it. And he says, I ask to you in the state of confusion, tell me my right course of action. Thus afflicted and infected by fear, I seek your refuge. Show the way, teacher. The first act of surrender of Arjuna is visible here, at least oral. If we do not know if it has become a surrender complete, but at least on his way, it is very difficult sometimes for a warrior to say, I am afraid. And that too for an warrior like Arjuna, whose name is Parantapa, who is like Rudra, who strikes fear in others. This person now tells to Krishna with all humility, he says, I am afraid now, afflicted, infected by fear. Shishya Seham Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. I am your Shishya, you show me the way. I don't know the way now. He says, Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. Oh, learned. Prapanna is somebody who has got everything with him. So please take me. I'm seeking your refuge and you are going to show me the way, is what he asks. And then he goes on further. Now we can say somewhere Arjuna is back to reality, back to ground reality. He's forgetting all the other things because Krishna never gave importance to all his prophecies, his other logics. But now he says, see, I am lost. I don't know. I am in this corner now. I cannot see the way. You show it to me. Nahi prapashyami mamapanudyad yachokam uchchoshanamindriyanam अवाप्य भूमा वसपत्नमृद्धम राज्यम सुराणाम अपि चाधिपत्यम. I am unwilling to see what will drive my numbness away. overwhelming me. This sorrow is here to stay. No happiness will come from any earthly aristocracy, neither godhood nor by absolute supremacy. He says, now there's such a big numbness inside of me. He says, this is overwhelming me, and it looks like it is going to stay. Doesn't look like it is going to leave me. And nothing, no happiness, even if I got the Trilokya Rajya, I became the Lord of the all universes, or I even became a god. So whether this is possible, we'll see. Gita is talking about human beings becoming gods. Is that a possibility? But whatever it is, he says, even if I become a god, I don't think this numbness will go. He says, I am absolutely in this complete darkness. So here is where Arjuna is now accepted. He's come to terms with his loss and he's turned to Krishna. Let us see further. Sanjaya Uvacha. एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं गुडाकेशः परन्तप न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम् उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः. Sanjay said to Arjuna, the mighty, who had even mastered sleep. Gudakesha, Arjuna was somebody who had even, he was somebody who wanted to not waste even a minute. So he did such a sadhana, such that I don't want to waste my time in sleep. I just want to keep progressing all times. He had overcome the desire to sleep, also a need for sleep. His rest would be probably in a few minutes of dhyana. He could get that same rest and he would always be alert. That was the story of Arjuna. People knew him to be that. So to this Arjuna, the mighty, who had even mastered sleep, to he who was unstable and in darkness deep, O king, to him Sri Krishna then spoke. The warrior within Arjuna he sought to provoke. So now Krishna is going to speak. Yesterday we just talked about how it would be. I mean, in the last session we talked about how it would be if you are in Krishna's place. Your hero says, no, I'm not going to fight. I said I would be very frustrated. I would get angry with that person. Probably I need to knock some sense. Or I might also start panicking. Now what? I have already told my army is on the opposite side. I have signed a contract where I am saying I am not going to use any weapon. What is going to happen? But not Krishna. It begins in a beautiful way. But I don't think any of us, no matter how calm, different people have different natures. But even the calmest person will not find anything humorous in this situation because it's a very terrible situation. Already 7 lakh soldiers extra on the other side. But here we see Krishna. Krishna is smiling. He's smiling to Arjuna right now. Let us see what it is. तमुवाच ऋषिकेशः प्रहसन्निव भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये विषीदन्तमिदम् अवचः. To him the divine Krishna thus exclaimed, standing in the middle of the warfield, he proclaimed, in a voice laced with a mild tinge of laughter, between both armies he spoke in this manner. So we see a small, like almost a sarcastic smile on Krishna's face. Right in the middle of both armies he is standing, and this is how he spoke, Sanjay says. Now begins the Gita in a real sense. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha अशोच्यान्नन्वशोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासून गतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः. The voice of Krishna. You speak, so you weep for whom tears shouldn't be shed. Yet you speak the language of the enlightened. Over those who are or who are going to be dead, one mustn't grieve. This the wise have clearly said. He says, now you are speaking suddenly like an intellectual, suddenly what they say, pseudo-intellectual. What has happened to you? Suddenly you are speaking this intellectual's language and then on the side you are becoming emotional and disturbed. So you are only now not having a firm ground. Either you remain here or you remain there. The wise understand that for a person who is going to die, your crying will not prevent that person from dying. So why are you going to shed your tears? You are weeping unnecessarily, he says. Because this is a truth. Death is one truth. This is a truth that wise understand that. That is why they accept it. It is a difficult truth to accept, definitely. But it is wise understand that. So that is why they don't. Because crying alone will not grant anything. So let us see what he goes on further. Nattvevaham jatunasam natvam neme janadhipaha न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे vayamata param. This shloka, just let us look at it. It looks a little interesting. There was never a time when I existed not, neither a time when you nor these kings were not. In the future, too, such a time the world won't see, when every single one of us will not be. I'll repeat it again. Can somebody tell me what do you think this means? There was never a time when I existed not, neither a time when you nor these kings were not. In the future, too, a time the world won't see, when every single one of us will not be. What is Krishna doing? Is he confusing an already confused Arjuna? If you cannot convince, confuse. That's a strategy some people employ. Is Krishna doing that? Yes, please.
He's
He
saying,
is so,
Yes, anybody. G.
Uh, he is talking about rebirth.
Okay, is he talking about rebirth? Savitri ji says. Okay, that's an interesting question. Maybe Vasudevan ji, what do you think is
he's saying he's always existed,
okay?
and Arjuna has existed.
Okay,
So as other kings. So this is a very controversial sloka in
it's a controversial one because
philosophical. Advaita, Advaita, Vishishta Advaita,
G.
all.
Because we know Arjuna is now is mortal. He's going to die if the arrow pierces his heart. And yet Krishna is now breaking boundaries of time and space and saying you were there before, you are there now, you will be there afterwards also. Savitri ji attributed it to rebirth. Okay, but anybody would like to give a logic why? What is this? How do you make sense of what Krishna has said here? Is he talking about something
what,
else? Yes.
what I think is that Krishna is trying to just tell that why to grieve over
Okay.
the death
No, but
part,
about this
because
aspect of being there before, now, and future
yeah,
also.
that's what I'm saying. That because Arjuna is in a state where he is thinking that he's going to kill everybody, and so Krishna is maybe trying to tell him that it was not that you were always there, you will always be there. It's like a cycle.
It's a
So you don't
cycle.
have to grieve about
So
it. You don't have to grieve about it. It's just that you have to live it.
a cycle of birth and death is that what Krishna is attributing to Dipti ji? Do you think that?
Yeah.
All right,
So
then.
basically, you don't have to grieve about the current state. Like
Okay.
anyways, you're going to die. But
But
it is not.
but we are going to
Suppose
die,
that
is it not? But here he's talking about something being immortal.
Is he talking about Atma?
Okay, guys.
Atma.
Okay, ji, Bhama ji, Gayatri ji has talked about Atma. Yes, yes, yes.
It
Krishna
is
is
the Atma which is immortal, and it's for
ji,
the body that
Yes.
ji. Yes,
Lasamsi Jirnani
yes. We
Yatha.
will be coming to that shloka. Yes, yes, ji, yes,
Yes.
ji.
So they are
So
Not only,
immortal.
yes, yes.
not only saying Atma is immortal, each Atma is different, he's saying.
Okay,
That
we will
is,
see that. Vasudevan ji, we will not get into Vaida, what it
that,
is, Vada of
that
Dvaita and
phrase
Advaita.
has
Will
been
no,
discussed.
no. In our sessions, we will not have controversy at all because we are looking at a practical aspect. So we will just
Controversy is only in the mind.
no, but that also we will try to just take it without
We are
looking
just,
giving it lens. Yes,
we're
sir.
just highlighting that it is there.
Ji,
We
ji,
are not
ji.
going to,
Yes, ji.
we are not,
Yes, yes. Let us, but we need not also. Let that not. It is Dvaita, Advaita. Who wants to perceive it? We'll just go with the flow of the session. So there was a never a time before when I am not. He is referring to this Atman, the Atman inside. So something is there. That Atman which is this Atman, whether it's Dvaita, Advait, there is this Atman which is imperishable. That is an immortal one. There is something which is Sanatan. We know we are going through phases. Our childhood, has our childhood died? Because our childhood we have left it, but is our childhood dead? Need not
No,
be.
no,
Not
it is there inside.
it is inside. It is inside. But we cannot say I am a child right now. We can be in our heart, and that is something I have seen. Even youngsters who are more than by their behavior, they are more than in their late 90s. And I have seen somebody who is in their early 90s who is like in their early teenage because that is the spirit inside. So there's something which is not going to change. Outside things are changing, and Arjuna is being told. Maybe he's talking about Punarapi Janama, Punarapi Marana also. What is
What about
happening?
maturity, Sriji?
Maturity is important, no. Innocence of childhood must be maintained with maturity. Otherwise, you lose that. You lose the maturity. It's of no use. Like grown
Is
up.
it connected to Atma or is it connected to the body?
No, let us now come. Maturity is a swabhava, it is a behavioral trait. We are looking at some essence of something inside, because it's the outer aspect. Maturity, behavior, psychological aspects, these are outer. But Krishna is now pointing to something which is inner, and that which was there before,
Internal.
And it was there in you. You were also there that time because that was there, and you are there now, and you will be there in the future also. Let us see what he goes on. Next, the 13th shloka. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra na muhyati. Just as your soul, when in this body, silently resides, childhood, youth, and old age, it consensually abides. After leaving this body, another one it requires. The wise grieve not, and know that the soul never expires. So, this is as you are inside of your body. Your body goes through these changes, but inside there is a witness, there is a sakshi, there is some existence inside which is not changing, is what Krishna says. It listens, it obeys, it says, okay, childishness also it accepts, youth also it accepts. After a while, it says, no, my bones are not like they were before. It's all right. It accepts, it is abiding by it, and then after a while, it says, now it's time for me to change. I'll need another body then. So, this aspect, there is something inside, Krishna is saying, and that is why the wise do not grieve over death. They accept death. Death is not a happy news for anybody. Even for the wise, they will not celebrate and say, ah, what a beautiful news. It is not, but it does not break them because they accept it as a truth. It is a truth of life. Just sometimes they say life becomes more beautiful because there is death, because everything is at times temporary. You will not experience that again, so why not experience what you are getting, what is given to you, allotted by the divine? Experience it fully instead of allowing your emotions to take control. Let us go on. Krishna goes on. मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्ण सुख दुःख दाह आगामा पायिनो नित्यांस्तांस्ति तीक्षस्व भारत. Arjuna, your physical body and senses suffer and wear. Heat, cold, joy and misery's effects they have to bear. Know them to be fleeting sensations of body and mind. They too shall pass, endure, and ye shall thus find. So now physical body, he says, is going to experience wear and tear. Your physical body with your indriyas, they function, everything, all of it, but your physical body is going to suffer because it is driven only by the senses, which are limited. Heat, cold, joy and misery's effects. So again, heat or cold, we start shivering. In the cold, heat makes us suddenly sweat profusely. When we are happy, we feel elated. There's an endorphin rush inside. And when we are sorrowful and depressed, again everything appears dark, lose the taste and everything. So these are all effects of the body, is what Krishna is saying. These are outer aspects. Understand, know them to be fleeting sensations of body and mind. They too shall pass. Endure and you shall thus find. So endure. Sometimes people have difficulties, physical difficulties which they cannot overcome. Pain is so much. So this is their mantra. They also say endure. It is all right. We had one participant. Her name is Ushaji. She's a teacher of art, and so many people look up to her as a student. But she had undergone some kind of paralysis, and then after that, continuously in a state of pain. But she said, no, I have been enduring for last 7, 8 years, and she's got a beautiful relation with Krishna. She sees Krishna as a Bal Krishna. So when her leg hurts so much, how does she, divert that pain? She says, Krishna, don't sit on this leg so much time, sit on the other leg now. But she is enduring, she is still doing her work, and she is. Now, this is the way of the wise, what Krishna is also saying, that endure, endure, this will pass. A friend of mine, she had gone through a very terrible chemotherapy. At that time, it was all horrible, everything, all the effects, hair falling off. She suddenly started putting on weight, holes all over the body, and then the fear of a secondary infection, or because of the chemotherapy, a second cancer has originated. There was that question going on. But she endured all of it, and all the time finding light, she found something. She found something, and she actually went on to say, I was thankful, I'm thankful to the divine that I got this disease, because life has now changed completely. I have understood it much better, and she's well off right now. She's come out of it. It is her, we can say, a great interesting thing. But the physical body is going to go through this. Krishna is saying this is the experience of the body. But just understand, let it be towards the body. Don't bring it so much on the inside, because sometimes you complicate. Even when you have fear or fever, in fever you add an anxiety element to it, your suffering increases. So you need not suffer. Pain will be there. Pain is a human experience, but suffering need not be. That is what we can see. Let us go on. Yam hi na व्यथयन्त्येते purusham purusharshapha sama dukkha sukham dhiram somrtatvaya kalpate. So somebody who is experiencing this balance, that person is worthy of tasting the soma or the somrtatvaya kalpate. That person is going to taste that amrit. That amrit is being tasted by that person who, let us see the shloka, who by these sensations are not imbalanced or affected, who in happiness and pain remain poised and unaffected. O Arjuna, only such men with the strongest foundation are deep enough to attain the liberation. So, liberation, moksha is the highest thing which has been told in all our Sanatan Dharma scriptures also as an ideal which everybody should aspire, getting truly liberated and free in life. But here, Krishna is saying somebody who is able to remain balanced is worthy of getting this liberation. He is fit. Balanced at what? All these sensations, is not getting affected by sensations, and happiness and pain. So I think pain we can understand. We don't want to get the bad experience of pain. But what is happiness? Why is Krishna saying to be balanced in happiness? Is there something wrong here? Or what could be the logic here?
It's like don't get over it. Like sometimes we see happiness and we just not able to. So suddenly we get something like not that great.
Hmm.
It's like not that happy situation. We're not able to handle it. Need to be balanced.
So okay, so probably okay. Dipti ji has said we must not get overwhelmed. That is what could be the implication. Anybody wants to add further to what Dipti ji shared?
See, here he's saying happiness means sense gratification.
Yes,
He likes and dislikes.
yes.
So
Likes
it's
and
most of the
in the
bodily.
later on in the Gita, Krishna says likes and dislikes are fine, but you must not get carried away by them. Is what we see
Can
there.
treat them same.
Hmm.
Why we can treat them same is because they are only if you are identities with the body, then they affect you.
Okay,
If you are
okay.
identity with the soul, these are just
Ach-
something you can observe. You know,
okay, ji.
nothing.
Okay,
Actually,
Vasudevan ji.
happiness is something which we are attached with something. So,
Okay, Gayatri ji. Ji,
Can
Usha,
I answer?
yes, please, Usha ji. Yes, please.
Yeah. So I think if we are too much attached to happiness, we will crave for more happiness.
Okay, and that craving will make us sad again because our craving will
Yes,
never
because
end.
we are not happy. When we are not happy, we sense that very much.
Okay.
So this craving will lead us to unhappiness. That's why don't be too attached to happiness.
So yes, so even
Be
What
happiness
more.
we
is
have to.
the question is what is that happiness? I think that's what.
No, but yes. Now, if you look at it from a more practical aspect only, if you see, sometimes in birthday parties, children are all, yeah, I've got a beautiful cake, and they're all like having springs attached to their feet. They're jumping around in excitement. I'm going to cut the cake, I'm going to eat the cake. And suddenly one hand moves in a wrong direction and the cake falls down. And that big smiley was now becomes upside down. So it's crying only. This person starts weeping. Or we have seen in the many tournaments, especially in the Olympics and all, athletes already celebrating victory before victory has been reached. In that excitement, it's like in the over excitement, they are losing the ground of reality only. And then sometimes by 1 second, a person wastes 8 years or 9 years of life efforts because of 1 second of uncontrolled happiness. I remember one time. I was sitting with my teacher, and it was many years back. This was his important word. He had told, "Don't rejoice," but it really very strongly came to me because what happened was that time. At least now we are good in India. We don't have that many electrical power outages, but that earlier I remember so many times electricity would go off, and I would, oh no, and then immediately electricity has come back. Oh wow! And the next second I've celebrated again, the electricity would again go off. So what has happened? Nothing has changed on the outside. I'm back to that same situation. There's no electricity. I can't do my work. But what happened? I went through the entire cycle of happiness, happy, sorrow, happy, again sorrow. What is this happening? Well, this aspect is the moment, which is why many times get so trapped in it that sometimes people are afraid when they get happy. They say, "Am I going to get sad?" I have seen in my life when I become happy, I become sad. So this is, as Vasudevan said, this is connected with the outer aspect where we are now connected with. There is something called Ananda, which is like a DC wave, which is not going to be alternating all the time. It is going to be remaining there. And in the Gita, we'll see later on, Santushtaha Satatam Yogi. Always in that state is possible. It is possible. But when you are not, that time it's trouble. That is why Krishna says somebody with a strong foundation is worthy of getting the realization or liberation, because we are bound by Indriyas, we'll function according to Indriyas, so we'll have these experiences. If we are able to remain balanced, we are able to control, somewhere we are able to assert our control and not get carried away, well, we can become worthy of becoming the highest, getting the highest realization. Krishna throws open the door for all. He says anybody, he doesn't say this person must be like this much tapasya must be done by this person, or this person must have spent so many hours of particular type of posture, or in a particular mountain, in a particular cave, or that person must have such long hair or long beard. No, anybody, irrespective of age, it is possible if you can attain that balance. Liberation can also be yours, is what Krishna says. Let us go on further.
I would
Nasat,
like to
yes,
here.
yes, Ji.
I heard read somewhere that हरिवंश राय बच्चन said something that मन का हो तो अच्छा, ना हो तो और भी अच्छा.
Yes, that is true. So that's nice. When it happens according to your mind's wish, it is nice.
So
But
that's
if it
why
is
the
not,
happiness can be good taken out. Like,
Ji, Sushma Swaraj also had
badly.
late. Sushma Swaraj had also had the same. She had lived that, and she had written very somewhere. I remember reading that it is, if what I wish happens according, I call it Krishna Prasad. If what is not my wish, Krishna Ichha, I'll accept that as Krishna Ichha, but I'll remain, the acceptance is not lost. So this balance is important. Wise people maintain that balance. Well, not only does it help you in life, Krishna is saying it's going to open the door for Ananda also. You might get the experience of Chidananda also. That Sachidananda might be yours if you can first start becoming balanced in your behavior, day-to-day activities also. Let us go on further. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. Ubhayorapi drushtontas, tva anayos tattvadarshibhi. Falsehood is that which holds no authority, and truth is omnipresent in every territory. The essence of both have been shown by the wisest of seers to whom it was known. So this Satyameva Jayate, why is it a slogan that India has so wonderfully adopted? Because it is a truth. So much attempts were made to destroy the truth. Our Satya, what was there in the scriptures, how many attacks. We had invaders after invaders, not just looting our wealth. They wanted to eliminate our own source of knowledge also. There were libraries. Nalanda fire burnt for how many days? They were burning the text because they wanted to destroy our own source. But can anybody touch the source of truth? No, truth is there. What rishis did not get from some library. Their knowledge came directly from the divine. Who will go dare to touch the sun there? Nobody can do anything like that. New rishis will be born, new realizations will come. Fifth Veda, sixth Veda, tenth Veda may also appear in the future. But the source, because that is the truth of Satya will always remain, and the wise understand that it sometimes truth can be hidden but cannot be destroyed. So this it manifests ultimately, and the wise understand it. They are calm, they understand, they experience it. They don't get driven by passions and do mistakes which people do, driven by their passion. अविनाशी तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशम अव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति. This truth of the indestructible self. Now Krishna says, I am talking about this indestructible self. This truth of the indestructible self you must see. From the same self the visible world came to be, and there is no one on earth who is so capable of destroying that self which is undestroyable. So Krishna says this truth of this self, what is this self? English words we have limitations. We can say Atman in Sanskrit. Krishna is saying, understand this truth that this is avinashi. There is something which can undestroyable, and from this undestroyable thing, the entire world came into existence. So some kind of metaphysical truth is being revealed. One need not, we are in the comforts of our home. We may like the metaphysical truth, we may not like. But Arjuna's case is different. He is having a battle. He is not going to have time to process metaphysical thoughts, at least now. But yet Krishna is telling maybe he is going to receive it and then connect the dots later on. But Krishna goes on. He says, there's nobody on earth who's so powerful. What Brahmastra you're going to use to destroy this self, it will not make a difference. So powerful it is what he says. He goes on further. Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktah sharirinaha anashino prameyasya tasmat yudhvasva bharata. This physical body is true and is untrue. This physical body is untrue and perishes. This has been known without doubt over the ages. It's proven mortality. Why do you question? Brace yourself to fight, O Bharat's son. So why are you questioning mortality? You are a warrior. You have seen this. To say that the body will not die is a false statement, because body is going to experience disintegration. Arjuna has fought so many battles. So many people have died. So why are you acting? He says, as if mortality is something new. It's not breaking news. People have been dying from the beginning of time, before also and now also. So why suddenly this death has shaken you so much? He says, it's proven mortality. Why do you question? Brace yourself to fight, O Bharat's son. Get ready to fight, Arjuna. This is true. Accept this. This is a world is only like this. But get up. Don't forget your duty. Then he goes on further. Ya enam vetti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tau na vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. Those who think that they kill this self, or those who think that the self is dead, are both in their ignorance only misled, as the self is neither the killer nor the killed. So this self is something which is not, which is immortal, which cannot be destroyed. Sometimes people feel they are destroying the soul of a person or the spirit of a person, but they destroy the body of the person and not the spirit. Example, we can say Mangal Pandey. What happened to him? He was hanged. He was hanged with this. So what was the aim? The aim was to now finish him. But how many Mangal Pandits were born immediately after that hanging? It was so many people across everywhere. It has happened so many times, so many places. Politicians sometimes try to kill the truth. They think they are killing the truth by killing the person. But that truth comes back, manifests so strongly, and then again, truth is what prevails. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes people have to wait for generations. Bharat had to suffer for so many years. But ultimately, truth does prevail. So freedom was got, and now the next freedom we are waiting to receive. First, we have got the first freedom, but the second one we are still waiting. And that is why so many great seers, especially Sri Aurobindo, has talked about it, how we can experience that. And then Bharat will become the real Jagat Guru. For the world, we will be that light which was before, a light that has to be reclaimed. But here, Krishna is saying, see, this is a mistaken thought that you are killing the self. It is not the self that is being killed. The individual's sharira can be killed, but not the self. The spirit and the truth will many times poetic thoughts are suppressed by one person kills the poet, but another person gets the same inspiration and puts out the same poetry and it comes out. Because why? The spirit finds its expression. The body is not important. There's a story of Joan of Arc. How when she, if you know, the maid of Orleans, she was just a maid. Maid of what is her body about? Very frail single crusader. But what did she do? She brought a great union of all the big knights also. Those knights were in their big armors, very powerful, standing, and all of them would salute her. And she got that. She's like, if she can rise, if she says we will fight, in her name we will fight, in her name I will put aside, because I know she is connected, she's got that divine spirit and she will lead us. Unfortunately, in the last part of the battle, she dies. She dies out of a bad disease. But now the biggest fear is the innermost circle. They know if this news goes, even these great knights will break ranks and run away. So what do? They make her wear the armor after her death also and make her sit on the horse, and she leads the battle. From far they see that she is there standing, and that is how they fight. Only after the fight is won do they realize that she was already not there. But her spirit was on. So like that, Shambhu Raja was killed in such a horrible way by Aurangzeb. The way he tortured it is like even death would have felt bad. That was the way he was tortured. But then Aurangzeb thought it's the end of the Maratha Empire. But no, then Tararadi comes and so many others, one after the other. So many people came to give him a hard time, and ultimately the Swarajya or state of Maharashtra was formed. Otherwise, there was a time when there would have been no Maharashtra also. There were so many different, five people waiting to take over one particular piece of land. But then that concept of Swarajya, some of the earliest Swarajya, ruled by the people, it came out of that churning only. So this is the thing. Self cannot be destroyed. Self cannot be destroyed is what Krishna says. The spirit is there which cannot be destroyed. The body can. But he goes on, 20th one. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nityah shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Neither is the self, the 20th shloka, neither is the self born nor is it killed, neither is it created, nor will it be destroyed. The self is primeval and ancient and birthless, deathless, even when the physical body perishes. So now, when sometimes when you say this, people say this is all mumbo jumbo. I don't believe this. What is this? I don't. I am a modern person. I don't believe in a phantom entity or something which cannot be created, which cannot be destroyed. Now, have you heard of something which cannot be created, and cannot be destroyed, but can be transformed from one form to another? Have you heard it somewhere?
Energy.
Energy, is it not?
Energy.
And where is it? Is it in physics or in some scripture?
Physics.
Physics in school.
Physics.
But we are religious. We have to religiously accept that. Is it, Gayatri ji? We have to
Yes,
religiously accept
definitely.
that. Otherwise, we cannot understand anything. We cannot get marks also. We cannot understand the functioning. And even if I say I don't believe energy can be transformed, will that make a difference? I can say no, solar energy cannot be transformed into electrical energy. I can look at the sun, I can see the solar cell, but I can still look and say, but that won't make the fact change. So something like that, this transformation, there is some pure aspect, there's a pure
But
entity.
science experiments, we can do experiments and understand.
But now Vasudevanji, science requires you a leap of faith. Now gravity is talked to you, they talk to you in classical physics, everything has to obey gravity. Suddenly they say, when nobody is looking, they say, now jump, jump, just jump. We are going to go to quantum realm. For some reason, all these classical Newtonian laws will fall apart. They don't know
No,
why.
but whatever is the scientific knowledge is there today can be proved by scientific experiments.
Nobody has been able to prove why the quantum leap takes place.
No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about gravity or
No, no.
transformation.
Why are you thinking quantum is not connected with
I'm not
gravity?
talking about frontier stuff. Because I'm not
No,
qualified to talk
no,
about
no.
it.
We are not qualified to speak. Is why should we not be
But
qualified to speak?
energy I can talk.
No, Vasudevan ji. Now, if you see now the positron emission tomography, is it subtle? Is it physical?
No. You're talking about something I don't know. But energy I know.
No, but so I should talk. Should I talk?
Transformation of
Vasudevan
energy
ji.
I can very well prove.
So Vasudevan ji,
Okay.
should we have a dialogue only on what you know and what I know, and we have that discussion, or we go into
Yeah,
Gita?
that is
Can we go into the Gita? Ji ji.
that is different. Even science, even nobody has seen an electron, but we all believe electrons.
Yes, that is what I was talking about, Vasudevan
Okay.
ji. We can need not have a vad, we can have samvad and go on, because that's why I told you it is not a Vedantic discussion where we are, because that way I will prove you, and if you want I will do pranams to you because your tarka is great.
No,
But
no.
but
All
but
that.
but we will miss the
Just
spirit of the
talking about
Gita. We'll miss the spirit of the Gita, Vasudevan ji.
no, science is not science if it cannot be proved.
Uh,
That's
Vasudevanji, I am requesting, let us have samvad, because in Tarka if we exchange, because everybody is now, we are waiting to see the Gita. I gave a, maybe you may disagree with me. After the
okay.
session, you are free. I also wait in the, because I have a small limitation of 700 shlokas to be converted into, like you said, each shloka I can be talked for 700 days. But I don't think everybody would probably come at me with stones or something if I go on with one shloka for so long. So we have a limitation. We are trying to connect. We are trying to connect what we can. If you disagree also, we can always have a look at it probably in the end. So as we see this, neither created nor destroyed, but can be transformed. Something like that is this self. This self is birthless. It is primeval. It is ancient. It is deathless even when the body perishes. 21st shloka. Veda vinashinam nityam yaena majamavyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. The knowledge of the self that is ageless is that it is true, indestructible and birthless. So again, who is the man who is the killer? Who is the man who is killed? So because the self is birthless, who can say I have killed the self? Who can say there is nobody who kills the self? There is nobody who is the killer. There is nobody who is killed. Now Nana Patekar made a very nice movie out of this. In that he said, "Kitab mein likha hai," he goes on murdering people. He says, "See, Kitab mein likha hai, nobody murders anybody." No, but the spirit of this is the spirit inside does not die. Physical body is going to perish. That is not going to change at all. Krishna goes on. This is the shloka I think Bamaji referred before today. Vasasi jirnani yatha vihaya navani granati naroparani Tatha sharirani vihaya jirnan anyani sanyati navani dehi. Just like old garments are discarded when shoddy, and thus for newer clothes they make way, the old physical bodies too are cast away by the self, which then acquires a new body. So, like old garments, what happens when they are old and worn out? You have to discard them. There is no other option. And what because you discard them, then you can wear the new one. I remember when I was young, my mother did not like a particular T-shirt because it had bugs drawn picture of bugs on it. But that was my favorite one, and I was not willing to let go. She was saying, "Now it will grow old, he'll stop using it." But I kept using it. I was too attached to that shirt. And then one day, mother did the unthinkable. She actually tore that shirt, so I never wear it again. So it is something like that. Our sharira, we get attached to our sharira, we understand it so much. But after a while, the sharira is going to go through wear and tear. And when it does, I can say I will live 100 years or I want to live 100 years. But my sharira has its own limitations. I don't know if I can make it. But it is okay. This is going to be changing, so it will wear one more. It's like people go to the mall, we don't wear the same clothes every day we wear different clothes, something like that. This atman is just discarding bodies like it discards the sharira, because it is something which is going to be changed, a new experience again after that. But this does not, this element, this phantom element, what it is, that we will explore later. We'll see what Krishna says about it. But Krishna is just, and one thing, like I said, this is being told to Arjuna. Arjuna need not agree to what all that is told by Krishna here. We'll actually see Arjuna completely disagreeing with Krishna. In the end of the Adhyaya, we'll see sometimes he says, I don't agree anything. But what is Krishna saying? He's saying something. We can just see how it is connected. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha. That which no weapon can decapitate, that which no inferno can incinerate, that which even the waters can wet not, that which even the mighty winds can dry not, which cannot be cut by a weapon, which cannot be burnt by a fire, which cannot be wetted by water, which cannot be dried by the wind. None of this can be done by this anybody who is powerful enough to affect this Atman inside, this supreme powerful being, this entity. Again, the next shloka is something re-emphasizing the same thing. Achedyoyam adahyoyam akledyo shoshya evacha nityam sarvagatah sthanur achaloyam sanatanaha. This self, indestructible and incombustible, is immutable, imperishable and insoluble. In its inertial stillness, it is omnipresent, ageless and timeless. Everywhere it is present. So one more thing is, it is present everywhere. Sarva Vyapi, this Atman, which we think is only inside, also is now present everywhere, and it is still like the same properties what Krishna has attributed to it. It cannot wet it, you cannot dry it, you cannot cut it, you cannot burn it. It is like that. And it is perfect, it is pure, it is not going to get what we can say polluted at all. It is Shashwat, it is Sanatan. It goes on further. Now, next is the interesting part, which is very, we can say, why sometimes we feel Krishna is purposely trying to confuse Arjuna or what? Because now he has given properties of this Atman, and then he gives something else. He says, Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanshochitum arhasi. This invisible self by the mind cannot be conceived. About the blemishless self, thus it is said and perceived. This knowledge of the self you must realize and see. Indeed, how pointless it is for you to lament or grieve. Now, can somebody tell me what is this? It is very confusing here, because one side he has given properties, and then he says, this invisible self by the mind cannot be conceived. About this blemishless self, it is thus perceived. And you must realize this self. You must see and realize this self. How and understand? Ultimately, he says no, but understand it is pointless to grieve. Before that, he is talking about this self, which is not understandable by the mind. And then he says, you must understand it. Is Krishna contradicting here? When he says one side, you cannot understand by the mind, and then he says, realize it, understand it. Anybody? What do you think would be the logic? not to be understood by the mind. It cannot be understood by the mind, he has told. And then he
It's got
says,
only to be experienced.
okay, Gayatri ji says probably it is to be experienced, it is to be lived. Okay, that is one interesting thing. Then anybody else?
Something can be
Self-realization.
Ji, Vasudevan ji, I'll come to you, Savitri ji. I think Vasudevan ji said first.
something
Yes.
can be grasped by the mind only if senses can see it, like
Ji.
eyes or ears.
Ji, ji, ji.
So unless it is
Extra sensory probably.
so it is not. I don't know the word for it.
Ji,
It
ji, ji.
cannot be seen by the senses, five senses, or
It cannot be by the.
felt by the five senses.
Okay, so not by the five senses.
So mind cannot grasp it.
Mind cannot grasp it. Probably we need one different eye only to see it, probably. But this is something he says we must understand. Yes, Savitri ji, please tell me. Ji.
Self-realization.
Self-realization. Okay, Sayathiji says self-realization. So again, this is the beautiful aspect of this is the entry into kingdom of Brahma Vidya. Actually, this shloka is a entry if you can use it, because the Brahma Vidya, when it is being passed on in the Upanishads also, this is how they say you are first aspect token you have to pay is the logic of the mind. You have to give that as the price, and then only you get into the entry into the kingdom. Because if you see this, it cannot be perceived by the mind, and it is something which you have to understand. So you'll have to understand, go beyond the limitations. There is something, at least realize that, and maybe the realization will come, because everything works on the level of the mind. Now, leaving all this apart, we are having a nice discussion about all of this in our homes. We are comfortable. What do you think must be happening to Arjuna when Krishna is saying all of this? I think Arjuna is not really making any sense, because immediately Krishna just goes back. He says, so do not grieve. Na chochito marhasi. It's like adults saying, big children now, you have grown up, don't cry. Something like that. Krishna speaks all of this and then says, no, so it is not right to grieve, because something probably he sees a change of facial expression of Arjuna. What is Krishna talking to me right now? What have I asked? The next shloka becomes very clear. He says here, Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mrutam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. He says, even if you think that a self is subject to birth, or if you think that it is subject to death, either ways, O mighty armed warrior, it is not right to grieve in any man in this manner. Says, okay, assume you are saying no, Atma dies. Atma dies with individual, it is perished. You don't believe what I am saying. He says, okay, arre, but you are a Yodha. So even if there is that death is this is not the way of a Yodha or a warrior. It is not right to grieve. Whether you believe, you try to understand the eternal truth, or you don't understand it also. This basic behavioral aspect you cannot forget. As a Yodha, you cannot let emotions control you so much. And of course, Arjuna has had emotional situations in life. All battles are difficult ones. These are physical battles. This is emotional aspects are involved. So many things he's fought before, but now it has something different, and that is what Krishna is trying to take out. Then he goes on, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu radhruvam janma mrutasya cha tasmadapi haryarthe natvam shochitum arhasi. For he who has taken birth, death is certain, and for he who has died, birth is certain. Death or birth is but an inevitable situation. It is not proper to bemoan on any occasion. So he says, see, anybody who is born will die. Just as a person who has died is again going to get birth. So we see that cycle of birth and death being described by Krishna. He says, whatever may be the reason, he says, this is the truth of life. People are born, people are dying at any given moment of time. So many people are born, so many people are dying. So this is the truth of life which must be accepted, he says. It is not right to grieve so much. Near in the ashram, actually in Pondicherry, when somebody passes away, you will actually see nobody crying. They all sit quietly in meditation. It is as if you will not realize. When I went for the first time, a young boy had died because of a car accident. The mother is very disturbed, but she was having tears. Will not say that. I will not say he never cried. She had pain, but she was in tears. But there was no wailing, there was no screaming or anything, and everybody were quiet. Agarbatti was lit. Quite a sort of meditation was going on. All people who came, they did their pranams. They just came, touched the mother's hand, just uh, conveyed their expression and walked away. No discussion what happened, see, like this, like that. So what happened many times, the emotional aspects, these discussions, they go on, and it troubles the person more. And this is exactly what Krishna is saying. Why is they understand this is a life and death is not in human hands. So the mortal will, why he is called mortal? Because of mortality only. So it is not right to allow your emotions to take control. He goes on further because Arjuna has talked about Naraka. He gives him explanation also how Naraka is going to be there, what is going to happen, and this is all according to his own understanding and logic. Krishna just tells him, "Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidhananyeva tatraka paridevata." The beginning before birth is unknown. The middle lifespan of birth alone is known. What happens after death is also unknown. Hence, so Arjuna, what causes you to mourn? He says, you don't know anything about your beginning. You are conscious. Some of us are very smart. We can actually remember our age right from, I can remember after, some people say after age of 3. Some people say I can remember everything from at age of 3. Sometimes they say even before. But what was before that? Before that you don't know, and before your existence world was there still. What were you doing? Which world you were? What were you? Nobody knows that. So that is a X factor. You don't know that. Then you know life. How much do I know life? I know till now. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I have no control over what's going to happen tomorrow. I can assume, say, I want to live 100 years. I'm doing exercise. I'm having this diet. All of this, fine. But I don't know how long my life is going to be because this is life. Uncertainty is a part of life. So we know only up to the moment we are living in and we are conscious of. We don't, even those who are having this clairvoyance, they can see glimpses of future, not the entire future as well. So when you do not know what was before, when you do not know what is after, you know only one third of the truth. That is what you experienced from your perspective and your indriyas only. So how can you be so certain about everything and come up with doomsday predictions? He says, what is it? Only when you know this much. Why are you mourning? You don't know if it is all bad or it's good also. You don't know what it is. So if you don't know, remain there. Don't draw a conclusion about it is what Krishna is telling him. And then we look at the next shloka. We'll just stop at the next shloka. This is about, and this is, he says, this is how people react on listening or introducing to the Atman concept. He says, Ashcharyavat pashyati kashyatenam, Ashcharyavat vadati tathaiva chanya, Ashcharyavat chainam anya shrunoti, Shrutvapyenam vedana chaiva kasyat. So how is it with Ashcharya? With surprise, with a kind of they assuming it is surreal. Some people see the self as surreal. They say, ah, yes, this Atman. Now I feel, yes, the Atman is there inside. This is a reaction of some. While some people say, no, I don't really realize it, but I think it could be there. My logic tells me there might be something. So they acknowledge it and they say, ah, yes, it is, and it is strange. It is strange. It is something which is a marvel of the existence. There is something inside. A neurologist, a very senior one who is now close to retirement right now, who has a very beautiful career. He had talked to me about something very interesting. He said, I don't know what is there inside of the patient. He says, that leaves the patient. After which, even if vital signs are visible, he says, we know we cannot revive this patient. Yes, something is there. He says, when the person is born, also what happens as a consciousness enters. He says that and all. We don't dwell into that dream of consciousness at all. But he says, still in the patient, he says, I know I have seen so many cases in the ICU, but I know after this point this patient cannot be revived. But something has left. But it is not in the physical. Yes, so now I know this person's these vital signs are there. I have got this through my experience of seeing so many patients. I know at this point now the person cannot be revived. But what is it that left? It is, I have still not been, and that makes me wonder what it is. Is what he says. I'm really trying to find that out. It is a research which he wishes to find out. And here Krishna is saying, so some they call it surreal and they acknowledge, yes, it is there. Some others hear about the self as surreal. For them, pramana, this person said, okay, it is enough for me. My mother tells me, I am your mother. I'll not say, give me DNA certificate proof. No, she is my mother. For me, this source is a very reliable source. So something like that. Words of the Guru. The words of the Guru are taken, it is like they are taken as something which is pramana only because the Guru has told. So this wise person told me like this about the Atman, so I accept there is Atman. Maybe there may not be Atman anywhere, it's alright. But if this person says, I trust this person's judgment, and so I believe that, and my belief is based on his judgment, I understand that. That is another way of people. So a third type. They say mantra moolam guru vakyam, because the guru has said those words, they become mantra in the eyes of, in the ears of the shishya, something like that. But after hearing of it too, some have no knowledge. But some, even after it's like falls on one ear, goes out of the other ear. That is how the knowledge of the Atman is. So with this, we stop at shloka number 29. I do not know what Krishna is up to. He is introducing something metaphysical suddenly in a simple battle which was requiring some kind of other discussion according to Arjuna's point of view. He wanted to escape from the battle. Krishna has suddenly touched on this topic of the Atman. So with this, I'll conclude with the Shanti Mantra. Then after which, anybody wishes, we can have a discussion. You want to share something, we'll look at it. So, and we'll continue tomorrow from shloka number 30. So we've stopped at this question of the Atman inside all of us. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyit dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Krishna Mante Jagadguru. Om Shanti Shanti. Yes, please. Hari Om. Anybody wishes to ask, share anything? We have some time, we can look at it. Yes, please.
I'm just a bit concerned. If
Yes.
somebody comes to this knowledge,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling, nobody is getting killed and all that.
Ha ha ha.
They may use it to cause a lot of trouble, war even.
Yes, yes.
Justifying that I'm not doing it, nobody's dying and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
but this knowledge has been there for so many years, Vasudevanji, for 5,000 years.
How do we prevent such understanding?
No, can you prevent ignorance in human mind? That is the question.
No, first of all, is it ignorant? If nobody is killing and nobody is dying,
yeah,
is it a bad thing? Killing is a bad thing.
How
do you deal with this question?
Means if you see somebody picks up the Gita and if you say fight for the truth. Now somebody has told fight for the truth. Even a person believing in falsehood believes that is the truth.
No, fight for the truth is okay. If somebody just comes across this sloka only, out of context.
That is in Nana Patekar's movie only. Kitab mein likha hai. So he goes on murdering. So he will go, he will do the karma, he'll do the ghor karma, he will bear the ghor karma phala. Police will catch him. Ultimately, the villain gets the experience.
Let him, but what about the guys who are getting killed? He will face his karma, but
is that person who is dying not experiencing the karma? Today I have told this, one person from the class only gets angry with me and he says, see, you are talking continuously for 1 hour. I don't like what you are talking, but I'm somehow putting up with you. After the class, he says, hi, nice meeting you, takes up a gun and shoots me. What will that happen? Is it because of the shloka or is it because of my karma, which it is? My karma bandhana is from previous birth. I do not know what I have done. That my life was destined to be this much only, up to this particular shloka only. If I was there, I will experience that, Vasudevanji. But these are so many factors, no?
The question has been there for ages, and how the people deal with this.
It is there, no, in the Gita. Means he's talking about the Atman aspect. The Sharir is going to die. Sharir is going to die. That way, then Duryodhana also is not, because that is the aspect of metaphysics is having its place. Like we say, quantum physics, we don't want to bring it into classical physics. Why? It becomes confusing. Our gravity laws will fall apart. If you talk about metaphysics, you say, no, quantum laws don't require gravity. So I will stop using in Newtonian mechanics the formulas of gravity. The balance will be destroyed. Something like this is a metaphysical truth of the soul, of the Atman. So one
question is, how do you prevent bad use, misuse?
No, but Vasudevanji, first thing is find youth reading the Gita is a very important thing. Already very few people read the Gita. Now we want them to select one shloka. There are so many people who pick up the different shlokas of the Gita. Particularly, see, Krishna is speaking about caste system. Another person, now recently one person told me Veda is speaking about hijab. What can we do to such person? We can only do namaskar and let him understand what his truth is there. Krishna talks about pseudo interpretations which are evoked. People quote scriptures. That is Asuri and Swabhava. We will look at the Deva and Asuri Swabhava. Gita talks about it. But again, Arjuna's was thinking he is the guardian of Sanatana Dharma. He has to do all the works. That is how in the first Adhyaya, he is getting frustrated. How is what is Sanatan Dharma will get destroyed? Actually, in the later on, after the Vishwarupa Darshana, Arjuna gets afraid and he says, "You are the guardian. So, you are the guardian of Sanatan Dharma. Probably Sanatan Dharma is Sanatan because the guardian is so powerful." So, what we need not worry about misuse of texts, because in Russia also people had banned certain translations of Gita, because Gita is, people were saying it is going to create problems against the government. But Gita is going everywhere. It is going. People are still reading. People are finding answers across the world as well. It is a human nature, no, Vasudevanji. What can we do about it? Human nature, as
It
long
is
as it is not transformed, until it gets transformed, it will not. It will remain. We will have the doshas of.
No, there's no way to control it.
It
Earlier,
is our dharma to read the Gita.
Yes.
Now, what one interprets out of it is his understanding and karma.
Yes.
We do not have control over what others think and how they interpret it. What is in our control is how we understand it and how we interpret it, and we actually, imbibe it and use it in our life.
Ji. Perfectly
So
said.
we cannot be thinking ki, okay, if this verse is interpreted like that or this
Yeah.
by others. We don't have control over that.
Ji. And we
So
are looking
let's
at our perspective, is it not?
yes,
If
yes.
because we
So we
cannot
we really
discuss.
can't control everything.
Yes, and even psychologically, we cannot. Psychologically, we can say about ourselves, but we cannot say about X factor, because that person, what is the reason, what is his previous experience, all of those, we will lose ourselves in a psychoanalysis of the individual. If I say, for example, if somebody says, no, I feel this shloka is inspiring me to come and kill you, then I will say, okay, why is it feeling that? Then we can go to that. But another's perspective, it is not need not we need not we can look at our perspective, and more importantly, as Rakiji shared, probably we because that is the easier for us to see.
I'm thinking of like a
Yes,
gun
sir.
control in USA. Guns can be either used to protect yourself, kill somebody else. But they're not. They have some gun controls, so that's only some people can get it, right? Some kind of control is there. I'm not. It should be much more, I think, but that's my interpretation. So,
But
so
you
there
don't
is,
feel like
we
because
have
of
such
this
things that we
shloka,
have.
you do not. It is not your thought about. It is not your thought about this shloka, that this shloka is giving sanction to kill.
No. I'm not. You give a gun to somebody, he will protect, or so you'll try to kill somebody. So it's up to the person. So I understand, realizing that we have some gun controls law. Okay, so that only certain people should be given the gun, other people should not be given the gun. So such things probably not applicable to scriptures. You
Yeah,
know.
yes, yeah, and like I said, once now, if this shloka, what is your interpretation of this shloka, Vasudevanji? Whether or not somebody else is, do
Uh,
you feel it is going to? Do
no,
you
I'm
feel
only looking at it from my point of view.
from your
Listen,
point of view?
I'm not thinking about other person's life.
No,
I'm not
from
thinking of
your
killing.
point of view,
My life, I am understanding my soul is different from my body. Soul is imperishable and body is perishable.
so
So
it does.
my
Ji,
energies be focused more on understanding that and
no,
understanding
yes,
the division.
yes.
So that the way to understand is that taking everything in saman, dukkha, or happiness, or heat and cold is given that also in the next sloka.
Yes,
How to achieve that?
yeah. Means, for example, this particular shloka only, Vasudevanji,
So,
is this
but
shloka.
that is I am only directing towards me, but somebody who wants to kill
No,
somebody else can interpret differently.
because for the session, we are just having a discussion only, so we can conclude after that. But Vasudevanji, for this shloka, what do you think? There is no free. This shloka is giving a loose opening. Is it for you, in your point of view, for yourself, that you can kill a person also? You are not killing the
See,
spirit.
even if I don't come across a I'm not likely to kill a person. That's my nature. Okay,
Okay, so
but
I'm
somebody
not in
who's
danger.
somebody who's
Uh,
going to kill, who's have this nature, he can use it to justify his killing.
but
That is
whom will he
what
justify to? Whom will he justify to, Vasudevanji?
to himself only.
And what will happen then?
Then then he goes about like a Hitler or somebody,
And he
he
has
goes around
to
killing
carry.
mass killings, gets into mass killings, and he tells others this is okay, go ahead. he can
and what after that? He bases his karmas, is it not? Now in a society,
I'm not worried about
we
his karma.
have we
I'm
have
worried about karma, the people he's killing. Millions that is going to die because of his thinking.
That
because
is their
that
karma, maybe.
Vasudevanji, that is like saying children go to school and become murderers. So stop going to school.
No. I'm not comparing it only with gun controls. I'm not
No,
comparing
you are
with
comparing with the Gita. No,
school. Everybody can go, right?
I think Vasudevanji, we are losing the spirit of our discussion during our sessions, no, because these are
No,
going off tangent.
I'm just raising a point to something.
I would Vasudevanji,
I'm
maybe
not.
yes.
I'm asking how it has been dealt with in the past. It's not the
Um,
first time this
mm,
question has come up. So this has come must be ages. It's been existing for ages.
um, yes,
So how they
probably Vasudevanji, after the session, you have my number. We could have a discussion on it because in the session, we are all bound
it's
with
not just for
time.
you and me. I'm talking. I'm just talking for the whole group.
Uh,
Something to put up for thinking for the whole group to think about.
uh,
No, if I'm
then
just you
okay.
and me, you can have an individual
Because
session.
I remember in one more participant, one a person had completed the Sankhya Karika and come for the Gita session after completion of Sankhya Karika and had done a PhD. So he wanted to share to everybody. What we had done is because he wanted to share and I also want to learn. What we said is after the session, the person we would every day he would speak for 10 minutes, 12 minutes, what he wanted to speak, and we would listen that time because what happens is your importance you want to tell this to us. It is very nice that it is a we would say blessing and it is a great thing that you want to share so much, but the spirit of our discussion we somewhere lose our connect because of the time frame only. Ideally we would love to have longer discussions like you said. It
I
can
don't want to discuss at all. I just want an answer from you how it has been dealt in the past. That's all. I
uh,
have no interest in my point of view. I'm only interested in learning others' point of view.
no, then Vasudevanji, then in the session, if I feel like, can I say we will look at it afterwards after the session? If
Yeah, sure,
yeah,
sure.
yes, all right, ji, ji,
Thanks,
ji.
sure. Yeah,
Fine, ji, fine, ji. All right, ji.
thanks.
Okay, Hari Om ji, Hari Om, Om Shanti, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om,
Hari Om.
Hari Om ji,
Hari Om.
Hari Om,
Hari Om.
Hari Om,
Hari Om.
Hari Om ji,
Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om,
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Is there any particular reason that why this has been told in the war field, I mean, by the battlefield? So
Ah,
much of knowledge.
yes, yes.
mean,
We are
all this deep.
facing, could be, we can assume, could be, we are also facing many Kurukshetras in our life. No, all of us, we are facing, sometimes our own relatives are creating the biggest Kurukshetra. And in the battlefield, it's a special thing because it's really a raw experience which Arjuna has to now deal with. Now, what high philosophy, what's the use of this philosophy in the world? That is the first question Arjuna has to connect it. A reconciliation of the highest spirit with material means a lot of times people make a divide, spiritual and material. But here Krishna is going to
Will he
merge.
not get confused with a lot of commotion over there? Is that
Uh,
the right time or thing that gives us gyan?
Arjuna, probably Krishna wants, we will see, no, we will see. Because I said you, it is a probably 2.5 hour discussion which Krishna Arjuna had. And
Okay.
in that discussion, Arjuna is like we said, we will afterwards, if the session everybody is harmonious, we'll actually start looking at giving ratings to Arjuna. On a scale of 10, how much has Arjuna understood? Many times in batches, we say he has understood only 4% or 5%, or people give 2 out of 10 because Arjuna will not relate to it. But this is a dialogue. Arjuna has to not accept everything Krishna says. He has a freedom to question, which he will do. He is going to ask the same question. He's saying, what Krishna, you are talking about this and this, tell any one thing. Either talk about Karma Yoga or you talk about this. But that is the spirit. Maybe Krishna wants Arjuna to think about something which he has not thought about, and it's important. So we will see as the Gita proceeds.
And why he has not told this? Actually, Draupadi is his close friend and devotee and everything. Like they are very
Why?
close, in fact.
Why Arjuna was chosen? Is that your
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
That will come later on in the Gita. Yeah, it is answered in the shloka. Why?
That may stop the war itself. So instead of giving gyan to Arjuna, it would be better to tell Draupadi. I think.
No, that way there are so many possibilities, Gayatri ji. But we do not know what new war would have started then.
Okay.
What has to happen sometimes does happen, it manifests in different ways.
True, true.
Yes, ji. All right. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari
Om
Om ji.
Shanti.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.